Well done! Now you know how to say thank you in Japanese. We've covered a lot of things already, so why don't we wrap up the first lesson and recap on what we've learned. In this lesson, you learned that studying another language has many benefits, such as providing new job and business opportunities. Japan has a colorful history with many things for you to see and learn, and to say thank you in Japanese, it's
ありがとう。
Hi! Welcome to Introduction to Japanese. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Risa.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of Japanese pronunciation. Pronunciation refers to the manner in which a word is spoken, so don't focus on reading what's on screen. Instead, focus on listening and repeating. Japanese is what is called a mora-timed language. What this simply means is that every character in Japanese, which you can think of as a syllable, occupies the same length of time.
すみません。すみません。
Notice how each character is pronounced for an equal amount of time?
すみません。
No character takes up more or less time than the other characters. Every character is valued equally and is pronounced evenly throughout.
すみません。
English, on the other hand, is a stress-timed language. Syllables that are stressed are valued greater than syllables that are unstressed. Opportunity. The stressed syllable to in opportunity is deemed more important, so it's pronounced longer than all other syllables. Listen to it again. Opportunity. This gives English a machine gun-like rhythm, where the pace is sometimes fast and at other times slow. One last time. Opportunity. Compare this once again with Japanese, which is steady and even throughout.
すみません。
Because equal value is given to each character, there is no word stress in Japanese. When pronouncing Japanese words, try to imagine a constant stream of syllables flowing out from your mouth. There are 5 characters in Japanese that signify a vowel sound.
あ、い、う、え、お。
Apart from these 5 characters, all other characters, except for one that we will cover shortly, is made up of a consonant sound and one of these vowel sounds.
か、き、く、け、こ。さ、し、す、せ、そ、た、ち、つ、て、と。
And so on. Only this character here is kind of special. It's a consonant sound without a vowel sound.
ん、
So to recap, a Japanese character could be a vowel,
あ、
or more commonly made up of one consonant and one vowel,
か、
or it could just be this consonant sound on its own.
ん。
Now you know the possible sounds that make up a Japanese character, but let's look at all the sounds in Japanese collectively. In the previous lesson, you realized that you already know 10% of all words in Japanese, which is a miracle. But are you also aware that you already know roughly 80% of all sounds in Japanese too? That means that if you were to simply imitate a Japanese speaker, your pronunciation would be correct roughly 80% of the time. For example, listen and repeat after Risa.
わさび。わさび。
Chances are your pronunciation was pretty spot on. The W, S, and B sounds are practically identical to English. The sounds may be the same, but don't forget that Japanese isn't a stress-timed language like English. So instead of stressing the second syllable like wasabi, make it even throughout. Try again.
わさび。わさび。
Nearly all sounds in Japanese are identical to English, like the W, S, and B sounds in this example. Since you already know how to pronounce most of these sounds, we only need to pay attention to the handful of sounds that are completely new to you. They're the ones we need to look out for. In the previous lesson, we taught you how to say thank you in Japanese. Do you remember what it was? It's...
ありがと
This word is often romanized like this. Focus on the second character. It's often written as an R and an I, but don't be fooled. This character isn't pronounced using an English R sound at all.
う。り、
It's like a mixture between an R and an L sound.
り。
There's no such sound in English, but most people would transcribe this using the letter R because that's the closest equivalent there is in English. Pronouncing it like an English R, however, would be a huge mistake. To pronounce this sound, lightly tap the gum ridge behind your upper teeth with the tip of your tongue. It should be a quick, striking motion, similar to the sensation you get when pronouncing the T in words like butter, cutter, and so on. Don't roll your tongue like an English R. Most of the air should go around the sides of your tongue, the same way it would when pronouncing an L sound. This is why many people describe this sound as in between an R and an L sound. Listen and repeat after Risa.
り、り、ありがとう、ありがと
Well done! Let's wrap up this lesson by recapping what we've learned. In this lesson, you learn that Japanese is a mora-timed language, where syllables are pronounced for an equal amount of time. Japanese characters can represent a single vowel sound, a consonant and a vowel, or a single consonant sound. Collectively, nearly all the sounds in Japanese are identical to the sounds in English, and there are only a handful of new sounds that you need to learn. Hi, welcome to Introduction to Japanese. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
う。Hi everyone, I'm Risa.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of Japanese grammar. Word order refers to the order in which words are structured to form a sentence in a given language. Consider the English sentence, I ate an apple. But first, let's remove the article an here for simplicity, so we're just left with I ate apple. The basic word order for English is subject, verb, object, or SVO for short. If we break down the English sentence, I ate apple, we can see that the subject I is presented first, followed by the verb ate, and then finally the object apple is positioned last. This is the basic word order for sentences in English.
Now, let's compare the same sentence, I ate an apple, in Japanese. 私がリンゴを食べました。Like before, let's remove the particles to keep it simple. So we're just left with the words. If we break down the Japanese sentence, we get the subject, 私, meaning I. Then comes the object, リンゴ, meaning apple. And finally, we have the verb, 食べました, meaning ate. The word order for Japanese then is subject, object, verb, or SOV for short.
In both languages, the subject is presented first. In English, though, it's followed by the verb and then the object, compared to the object being first and the verb last in Japanese. The same sentence in Japanese is essentially I apple ate, subject first, then object, and verb last, SOV. This is the basic word order for sentences in Japanese.
Okay, let's move on to the next section.
English is what is called a subject-prominent language. This simply means that the subject is slightly more important than other components in the sentence. It's the key piece of information other components in the sentence relate to. Who is doing the action is slightly more important than what is being done or which object it's being done to in English. If we had to slowly remove pieces of information from a sentence while trying to keep its essence intact, logically we would do so in order of least important to most important. If we were to omit the subject, we would get ate an apple, which sounds strange. On the other hand, if we were to omit the object instead, the sentence would become I ate. Even though in each instance we omitted a piece of information, the reason I ate sounds less strange is because we've yet to break any grammatical rules, and so there's still potential for the sentence fragment to become a complete sentence and to become grammatically correct. Since the latter is logical, this indicates that the subject is more important than the object in English. The same would have been true if we had omitted the verb. Since the subject is the integral component in the sentence, this makes English a subject-prominent language.
Japanese, on the other hand, is a topic-prominent language. Unlike English, the focus of each Japanese sentence is the topic, not the subject. Essentially, the ate an apple portion, リンゴを食べました, is the main focus of the sentence, where I is deemed less important and can be omitted.
In fact, if it's obvious what the subject is, or if it's already been established, it's quite normal to omit the subject from the conversation altogether in Japanese. Let's look at this aspect in a bit more detail. More often than not, if you wanted to say, I ate an apple in Japanese, you would not say,
私がリンゴを食べました.
Instead, you would more likely say, apple ate in Japanese.
リンゴを食べました.
Since Japanese is a topic-prominent language, the information to be shared is the act of eating the apple. Less important is the subject, which is omitted altogether. Most Japanese sentences are constructed and spoken like this in real life. In most situations, such as a one-on-one conversation, it's clear that the person who's speaking is the subject. In cases where it's obvious who or what the subject is, it's almost guaranteed that the subject will be omitted. And so you're left with,
リンゴを食べました。
On the other hand, when it's unclear who or what the subject is, or if you wanted to place emphasis on the subject, like if you wanted to declare from a group of people that it was you who ate the apple, then you would include the subject.
私がリンゴを食べました。
But more often than not, most sentences spoken in daily Japanese conversation can be spoken without including the subject at all, particularly if that subject is you.
箱を開けました。電車で帰りました。
Knowing this, we can easily express any simple action in Japanese using just the object and the verb. Try to create the sentence, I ate a hot dog, from these sets of words.
食べました。ホットドッグを
Okay, got it? The object goes first, so let's put hot dog here. And the verb goes last, so let's put ate at the end. Finally, we connect them using the appropriate particle. And that's it.
ホットドッグを食べました。
Which means, I ate a hot dog in Japanese.
ホットドッグを食べました。
You can create any basic sentence like this in Japanese if you simply know the word for the object and the verb in Japanese. Well done! Let's wrap up this lesson by recapping what we've learned. In this lesson, you learned that Japanese sentences are formed using a subject-object-verb, or SOV, word order. The most important aspect of Japanese sentences is not the subject of the sentence, but the topic. Most sentences spoken in Japanese will not actually contain a subject, especially if that subject is obvious, like when it's yourself, the speaker. And lastly, you can create basic sentences in Japanese by putting the object first and the verb last. Hi, welcome to Introduction to Japanese. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Risa.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of Japanese writing. In English, we use one script, the English alphabet, to write. To write in Japanese, however, you will need to use 3 different scripts together.
And they are hiragana, katakana, and kanji. Hiragana is like the basic Japanese alphabet.
Instead of 26 letters, however, we have 46 characters. Each character represents one syllable. These 5 characters, for example, represent the 5 vowels in Japanese.
A, I, U, E, O.
All other characters, except for one, are made up of a consonant and one of these vowels.
Ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, sa, shi, su, se, so.
And so on.
Katakana is almost exactly the same as hiragana. The only difference is that it's written a little differently. A, I, U, E, O, ka, ki, ku, ke, ko. Hiragana is more cursive, while katakana has a lots of sharp corners. The final script is kanji.
Kanji is the use of Chinese characters in Japanese writing. This is because Japanese writing actually originated from China.
Right. A long time ago, Japan only used Chinese characters. Today, we use all 3 scripts together to write Japanese. Unlike hiragana and katakana though, kanji is nothing like an alphabet.
Kanji characters are a special type of character that represent an idea or concept. They act more like entire words than individual letters. And unlike the alphabet, there are thousands and thousands of kanji characters.
Not to mention, there are many different ways you can read them too. So the pronunciation actually changes according to the context.
Okay, now you know that there are 3 different scripts used to write Japanese, but why is this the case? Let's look at each script in a little more detail.
You can think of hiragana as the default script used to write most things in Japanese.
It's the most common of the 3 scripts because it's used to write functional words, including most grammatical particles, such as possessive,
の、私のペン
prepositions,
に、学校にいる
as a subject marker,
は、ジョンは学生です。
and it can also be used to write words that lack a kanji rendition or whose kanji is obscure or considered too difficult for the reader to understand. Additionally, it's used as inflectional endings for adjectives and verbs together with kanji.
見る、押す、白い、古い。
In theory, you could use this script to write everything in Japanese.
For this reason, it's generally best to learn hiragana first. We mentioned before that katakana is almost exactly the same as hiragana. The only difference is that it looks slightly different.
This is the least common of the three scripts because it's used to write foreign words in names,
コンピューター、ビール、ロンドン、ジョン、
and onomatopoeic sounds.
ワンワン、ニャン。It's common to learn katakana after you learn hiragana because of their similarities.
The final script is kanji, which is undoubtedly the hardest one of all to learn. Kanji is used to write most words of native Japanese or of historically Chinese origin. This includes most nouns,
人、学校、
the stems of most verbs and adjectives,
見る、行く、赤い、怖い、
and most personal and place names.
田中、ひろこ、東京、大阪。
Learning kanji may be difficult since there are thousands and thousands of them. They are, however, an integral part of Japanese writing. Okay, let's wrap up this lesson by recapping what we've learned.
In this lesson, you learned that there are 3 different scripts used to write Japanese. Hiragana is the most common, and it's used to write functional words and particles. Katakana is used to write foreign words and names. And kanji is used to write native Japanese words, or words of Chinese origin.
Hi, welcome to Introduction to Japanese. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Risa.
In this lesson, we'll focus on teaching you the most useful Japanese words and phrases for absolute beginners.
Make sure you're repeating the words out loud after I say the examples.
Are you ready? Let's get started. Bar none, the best phrase to learn when studying a new language is one that expresses gratitude and appreciation. If you had to learn only one single phrase, this would be it.
We taught you this phrase in the very first lesson. Do you remember what it was? Arigato. It means thank you. Arigato.
Keep repeating after Risa until you get it.
Arigato.
Your turn.
Arigato. Arigato.
Do you remember this character here? We talked about it in lesson 2. Even though this character is transcribed as an R, don't pronounce it like an English R. Listen to how Risa pronounces this sound.
Ri.
It sounds like a mixture between an R and an L sound.
Ri.
Another way of pronouncing this sound is to think of the quick tapping motion your tongue makes as it strikes the top gum ridge in words like ladder or butter.
Ri.
Altogether, it's...
Arigato.
Okay, one last time.
Arigato.
The next phrase we'll teach you is perhaps the second most useful of all phrases. It's to apologize or to excuse yourself.
We taught you this phrase in lesson 2. Do you remember what it was? すみません, and it means excuse me or I'm sorry. すみません.
Use this phrase when you want to grab a waiter's attention or when you're hustling through the busy streets of Tokyo.
すみません.
Your turn.
すみません.
Imagine you're on the street and you want to stop someone to ask them for directions. What do you say?
すみません.
Okay, one last time.
すみません.
Now you can say thank you, excuse me, and I'm sorry in Japanese. Let's move on. Asking where something is an incredibly important and useful phrase to learn. You're going to need this when asking where the bathroom, the train station, or where the hotel is. To ask where something is, put the name of the place or location first, and then add
はどこですか?
For example, if you want to ask, where is the bathroom?
トイレはどこですか?
For the train station, it'll be
駅はどこですか?
and so on. You can ask where something is by simply adding
はどこですか? は marks the place as the subject of the sentence. どこ means where. This is a polite word that roughly translates to is, and ka marks the sentence as a question. You can kind of think of it like a question mark in Japanese.
altogether, it's
はどこですか?
your turn.
はどこですか? はどこですか?
Now let's teach you some vocabulary so that you can use it in the sentence. Here are some of the most common words you'll need to learn.
トイレ
Bathroom.
トイレトイレはどこですか?
Next,
駅
station.
駅駅はどこですか?
If you ask someone this question, they'll direct you to the closest train station. If you'd like to ask where a specific train station is, like Tokyo Station, for example, simply place the location before station.
駅東京駅東京駅はどこですか?
Next,
ホテル
hotel.
ホテルホテルはどこですか?
For a specific hotel, do the same as before. Just place the name before hotel.
ホテルヒルトンホテルヒルトンホテルはどこですか?
Next,
コンビニ
convenience store.
コンビニコンビニはどこですか?
You can substitute almost anything and simply add
はどこですか?
to ask where something is in Japanese. In this final lesson, you learned how to say thank you, excuse me, I'm sorry, and to ask where something is in Japanese. And in this series, we introduced you to the basics of Japanese pronunciation, grammar, writing, and more. Let's conclude with some parting advice from Risa and listen to some of her tips on how to learn Japanese from a native Japanese perspective.
The best way to learn Japanese, particularly if you want to improve your communication skills, is to watch and study contemporary Japanese videos. That's because we often use expressions that aren't necessarily introduced in grammar textbooks in daily conversation. The biggest mistake that I see learners make is watching and mimicking what they see and hear in anime, and to a lesser degree Japanese dramas. A lot of the expressions used in anime are not commonly used in daily conversation, as their reactions are often exaggerated. The same thing happens in Japanese dramas too, but to a lesser extent. One such example is the use of domo as a casual way to say thanks. We often see this in comedic shows, and so a lot of learners are saying domo. But in fact, it is rarely used even amongst friends. It should generally be avoided. Watching contemporary videos, such as our videos here at JapanesePort101.com, will ensure that you're learning real, applicable Japanese in the fastest and the most effective way.
You've reached the end of this course, Introduction to Japanese, but it's only the beginning of your journey to Japanese fluency. Where do you go from here? Try our innovative Japanese series where we teach you beginner vocab and even more useful phrases, or check out any of our other video series. We have many different categories for you to choose from. Good luck as you continue learning Japanese, and I'll see you in another video. Bye!
Bye!
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Yamamoto. Welcome to the Ultimate Japanese Pronunciation Guide. In this series, you'll master Japanese pronunciation. Proper pronunciation is essential for being understood, and in this series, you'll learn it in a fast, accessible, and comprehensive way. In this lesson, you'll learn 2 keys to mastering Japanese pronunciation. First, Japanese pronunciation is comparatively easy. Japanese has only 5 vowel and 14 consonant sounds. Almost all Japanese syllables are made up of one of these consonants and one of these vowels, but the 5 vowels also appear individually. Take a look at the chart. Each character, or kana, represents 1 syllable. The characters in the right column represent a vowel sound only. in the top row of this chart, the characters represent consonant sounds. By combining these, you can form most Japanese syllables. For example, look at the consonant K row. Consonant K sound plus the vowel A becomes ka. Consonant K sound plus the vowel I becomes ki. Consonant K sound plus the vowel U becomes ku. The consonant M row follows the same pattern. Consonant M sound plus the vowel E becomes me. Consonant M sound plus the vowel O becomes mo. Again, each syllable on the kana chart is a combination of a consonant and a vowel. The main exceptions are the 5-vowel group and the special n sound. Let's hear how some Japanese words are pronounced. The first example is a common Japanese surname, Tanaka. Ta-na-ka. It's made up of 3 syllables, ta-na-ka. Each syllable consists of 1 consonant and 1 vowel. Another common surname in Japanese is Nakata. Na-ka-ta. The pronunciation of these 3 kana are the same as in Tanaka, just the order has changed. With a few notable exceptions, you can properly pronounce Japanese simply by reading hiragana or katakana, the 2 Japanese alphabets. Remember this tip, and it will help you throughout your studies. Now, the second key point is, each syllable in Japanese is pronounced for the same length of time with equal stress. For example, when you say America in English, you put stress on me and say it for longer than the other parts, America. The word America in Japanese has 4 syllables.
Добре дошли в What? Епизода на едва нави. Жалкото подобие на шоу, където някой път просто спира да ми пука. Дори не взимам ваши предизвикателства и правя каквото си поискам. Лучано Павароти ме предизвика да щупя чаша с тимбара си. Снимаме? Добре. Някой ме предизвика да танцувам за 5 секунди. Не знам какво беше трудното като цяло, какъв беше смисъл. То било от Стивън Хокинг. Гери Никол ме предизвика да направя пародия на Момиче като мен. Момиче като мен не е лоша песен. На вашите ебавки за Гери Никол никога не са били забавни. Моля ви да се спрете, защото е много жалко да гледам как големи мъже и жени се подигравате на тинейджърка, която прави повече пари от вас. Алексис Тексас ме предизвика да направя филм за възрастни. Искаш ли го, бейби? О, колко го искам! Искаш го, а? О, искам го! Охо, искаш го, май? Искам го! Искаш ли го? Искам го! О, Фернандо! О, да! О, да! Мама, наистина ли може да остане цял месец? Месец и половина. О, Господи, разбирай ме по-силно! Защото, мили деца, да бъдеш възрастен означава не да правиш секс, а да цениш и разбираш останалите. Галабин Боевски ме предизвика да... О, не, това няма да го правим. Вашето невежество ме предизвика да подхвана световната политика. Здравейте, войводи, аз съм Стевчо и отново съм тук с ново информативно видео от Ханкрум БГ. Може да се загубите такива тински. Не знам дали сте наясно с случванията по света, но ситуацията изобщо не е забавна, приятели. Всички страни са извадили оръжия и тръпнат в очакване на Третата световна война. Русия е извадила катюшите, автоматите, танковете и крещи на Турция. Сука, блядь! Иди нахуй! Не е шега работа. Русия е катюшите, автоматите, танковете и крещи на Турция. Сука, блядь! Иди нахуй! Не е шега работа. Русия ще затрие Турция от картата на света. Едва ли някой си дава сметка колко сериозно е това. Изчезне ли Турция, изчезва и производството на дюнери. Предстои ни Армагедон и този път не може да обвиним евреите. Изкуството ме предизвика да го застрелям в главата, като коментирам картини на Леонардо да Винчи. Ето тук може да видим най-известната му картина. Жената, която си крие часовника от циганките на гарата. От апокалиптичния фон може да разберем, че тя се намира на ЖП гарата в Левски. И, може би, чака влака за Харманли. Облечена е с черно на метал. И ние веднага може да направим връзката, че тази жена е майката на Батман. Също така се смята, че откъдето и да се погледне, очите й те следят. Което е пълна глупост, защото аз мога да изскоча отзад. И без тя дори да подозира да я зашливя с един цигански шамар. Следващата картина се казва голо мъжко тяло в гръб. И тук нямаме много за коментиране, защото всички знаят, че Леонардо да Винчи е бил фен на Nickelback. И тук той просто е рисувал вокала на групата. Следващата картина се казва портрет на млада жена, рисуван от ученик на Леонардо. Първата му думичка. Толкова бързо растат. Къде ще учиш след 12 клас? Да, нещо такова се получава в живота. Карате да взимаш супер важни решения, пък ти още не мога да върнеш маргарина в хладилника, без да предизвикаш авария в целия окръг. Има толкова много професии и пак никоя от тях не е сигурна. Даже да си бавачка е опасно. Веднъж родителите излезли на вечера. По-късно бавачката се обадила и попитала дали може да покрие статуята на клоун, защото я прибивали тръпки от нея. Бащата извикал: напуснете къщата веднага, звънете на полиция, ние нямаме статуя на клоун. Когато полицията пристигнала, те разбрали, че наистина имали статуя на клоун, а бащата имал Алцхаймер. И все пак, не виня родителите, да си родител само по себе си е трудна работа. Виж какво, Мартине, не ме интересува, че съм те питал как изглеждам с този половер. Не можеш да наричаш баща с нещастник. Сашко, искаш ли една загадка? Какво има 4 крака, но не е живо? Да ти е стол! Не, този път си не, кучето ти го блъсна кано. Даже да си наркобарон е трудна работа. Трябва постоянно да се разправяш с глупави хора. Йо, мистер Уайт. Готви метам с глуп... Даже да си наркобарон е трудна работа. Трябва постоянно да се разправяш с глупави хора. Йо, мистер Уайт. Готви метамфетамини. Готов съм, Джеси. Йо, мистер Уайт, свърлях труповете. Купил си кисел мляко. И свърлих труповете. Отлично, Джеси. Уолт? Мисля, че трябва да купим автомивката. Скайлър, ти ма умна ли си? Какво ти става? Не може да говорим за такива неща по телефона. До някъде, винаги съм харесвал професията полицай. Не обикновените полицаи, които се занимават с хора като... Днес беше заловен мъж от ромски произход, който се опитваше да пренесе 70 литров бакарен казан за ракия по улицата.
Стацията се случи така, както си джитках и кьочаците започнаха в събота, ама ще свършат в четвъртък. Сеш са. Няма да издавам много, евентуално ще ставам политик.
Ама ти си неграмотен, знаеш как да си напишеш името?
Абе брат, аз от 10 годишен уча грамотност на улицата. Казана е 70 литра бакър. Той не е мой, той е на Антонио.
А кой е този Антонио?
Антонио? Той е викът на Версачето. Той е един приятел, ама винаги го познават сука, какво да прекараме.
По-скоро да съм като Мартин от прикритие.
Fendi, Louis, Chewy, Gucci, Mount Ferragamo. Still polo, and I fuck with the Azanos. Catching bodies every day and bodies every night. Cause I'm young and living life, and yeah, got a price.
Иво, брат, как го принасяш този хероин?
Майната ти.
Антонов, не ме предизвиквай.
Какво ще направиш ти бе, войняр?
Най-много ме кефят детективите. Какво става, Петров? Нищо, какво да става, брат? Си на 5 по математика, оня ден ядохме. Със случая, бе, тапанар! Никакви улики. Забелязали ли сте как абсолютно винаги намират нещо? Никой да не мърда! Косъм. Убийството се е случило преди 2 дни с тъп предмет. Жертвата е носила сандали с чорапи лятото, докато нападателят не е обичал пастет и е бил фен на Kanye West. От един косъм. Сериозно! А ако не е косъм, ще бъде семенна течност. Шефе, проверихме навсякъде, няма никакви улики. А под печката? Какво пък ще има под печката? Сперма! What the fuck? Кой търси на такива места? И по-важното, кой я оставя там? Какво ни става на обреджиите в днешно време? Готово. Взехме всичко. Айде се чупим преди да са дошли куките. Чакай! Искам да си оставя визитката. Кажи го. Не бе, човек. Ай бе, брат. Бождане, спри са. Последно, обещавам. О, не. Терор. Страх. Химическо чистене. Семенният бандит отново напада.
I go hard in the motherfucking paint, nigga. Walk up like a wild out.
Как се държат Деви този човек? 50 000 пъти плюя, брат. А Нонов тук си изпи цялата вода. Кой търси на такива места? И по-важното, кой не оставят? И... Напълних, че бъде леген, брат.
And you say each syllable for the same length of time. America. Pronounce it like this to sound like a native Japanese speaker. Another example. How do you say this word in English? You would say karaoke, but in Japanese, you say karaoke. Remember that each syllable in Japanese is pronounced for the same length of time and gets equal stress. Now to close the lesson, here's the question for you. Why should you, including advanced speakers, spend time on learning proper pronunciation? The answer: you will be understood, and this will build confidence when you're speaking. Also, speaking with proper pronunciation is always impressive. For beginners, you're on the path to perfect pronunciation. And for the advanced students, this is a chance to perfect your pronunciation. Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Yamamoto. Welcome back to the Ultimate Japanese Pronunciation Guide. In this lesson, you'll learn the top 5 Japanese pronunciation mistakes to avoid. Number 1, shortening long vowels. Saying Japanese long vowels correctly is an issue of timing. You can use claps to measure time from syllable to syllable. For example, the Japanese word for grandmother exemplifies the long vowel in Japanese. Listen closely for it. Oba-san. The a in ba is held for 2 claps. Oba-san. Japanese learners often shorten the long vowel in ba and say oba-san, meaning aunt, not grandmother. In this case, not only is the pronunciation incorrect, but by shortening the vowel, you change the meaning of the word. Hear the difference again. Oba-san, grandmother. Oba-san, oba-san. Oba-san, aunt. Oba-san, oba-san. This is an important but not critical topic for early learners. You'll learn more in Lesson 8. Number 2, pronouncing loan words with an English accent. Do you know this Japanese word in English? Computer. It means computer. What about hamburger? It's hamburger. These words were imported into Japanese. So while their pronunciation is close to the original English word, you need to learn how to pronounce them correctly in Japanese, or you won't be understood. You don't say hamburger kudasai, hamburger please. Instead, you say hamburger kudasai. Again, hamburger kudasai. Number 3, overstressing syllables when speaking Japanese. How do you say this sentence? I like sushi. Pay attention to the stresses. If you read the Japanese sentence stressing syllables as you would in English, it would sound like this. 私は寿司が好きです, meaning I like sushi. Speaking in this way sounds very unnatural in Japanese. Remember, Japanese doesn't have stress. Let's read the sentence again without stress. 私は寿司が好きです. Did you notice the difference? In this series, you have many chances to repeat examples after me. Please listen carefully and pronounce Japanese words without stress. Number 4, pronouncing the R sounds incorrectly. Try to read this Japanese word out loud. Kirei, beautiful. Kirei, kirei. Did you pronounce de correctly? English native speakers often pronounce it like the R sound in English and say kirei. You should lightly tap the roof of your mouth with the tongue, but don't roll it. It's closer to an L in English. Listen carefully. La, li, lu, de, ro. We'll tackle this in lesson 5. Number 5, removing unnecessary pause. Remember the issue with Japanese long vowels? It's a timing issue, so you should use claps to measure time. To achieve the necessary pause in Japanese, the speaker pauses for one clap in between the syllables. This is best illustrated with an example. How about these words? Hitte, stand. Hitte, hitte. Did you notice that there is a pause in the middle? The pause needs to take one clap. Hitte. Let's hear another word. Kakko, parenthesis. Kakko, kakko. Again, the pause needs to take one clap. Kakko. But Japanese learners often omit the pause. In both of these cases, not only is the pronunciation incorrect, but the meaning of the words changes. Hite without the pause means please come, and kakko without the pause means past. You'll learn more about this sound in lesson 9. Here's a bonus one. It's ignoring pitch accent. Japanese has many words with the same spelling but different meanings. But there's a way to differentiate these words. Pitch accent, the intonation used when pronouncing the word. For example, if you say hashi, it means chopsticks. But if you say hashi, it means bridge. Let's hear the difference again. Hashi, chopsticks. Hashi, bridge. In Japanese, each syllable is basically pronounced with a high or low pitch. And each Japanese word has its own pitch accent pattern. This is important to understand. We will teach you the secrets of Japanese pitch accent in lesson 10. Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Yamamoto. Welcome back to the Ultimate Japanese Pronunciation Guide. In this lesson, you'll master perfect pronunciation of the 5 Japanese vowels. There are 5 vowels in Japanese, and their pronunciation doesn't change. The first vowel is a. Open your mouth a little, relax the tongue and say a. Repeat after me. A. 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 The next vowel is I. Open the mouth, bring the lips up slightly, and raise the tongue and say I. Here's a tip. It's like the I in meat, but shorter. I. raise your tongue almost to the roof of your mouth. Repeat after me. I, 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 I. The next vowel is U. Purse the lips as if you're going to whistle or say the word who. Like this. U. Try it. Release a short U sound. U. The lips are more relaxed with the Japanese U sound than the English U. Compare Japanese U with English U. Repeat after me. U. 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 The next vowel is E. Open the mouth. Raise the lips up from their natural relaxed position as if you're about to start smiling. And release the sound saying E. Repeat after me. E. 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 The final vowel is O. Think of the perfect circle of an orange. Round the lips as if you're surprised and release a round Japanese O. Repeat after me. O. 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 Congratulations! You've learned the 5 Japanese vowels. There are many Japanese words made up of vowels alone. Let's practice. Repeat after me. Ao, blue. Ao, ao. Ao. Ie, house. Ie, ie. Ie. Ue, up. Ue, ue. Ue. Japanese vowels may seem simple, but mastering them is a crucial first step. Almost every syllable from here is formed on the basis of these vowels. Try practicing each one in a mirror. Perfect these sounds because in the next lesson, you'll master the first set of consonants. Was seeing the pronunciation illustrations helpful? Please comment and share your thoughts. See you in the next Ultimate Japanese Pronunciation Guide lesson.
Hi everyone, I'm Gabriella. How are your Japanese listening skills? In this video, you'll have a chance to test them out with a quiz. First, you'll see an image and hear a question. Next comes a short dialogue. Listen carefully and see if you can answer correctly. We'll show you the answer at the end. Are you ready?
本屋さんで女の人が店員に頼んでいます。女の人はどの本が見たいですか？すみません。あの棚の上の本を見たいのですが。
どの本ですか？
車の本です。
ちょっと待ってください。これですか？
はい、そうです。
どうぞ。
女の人はどの本が見たいですか？本屋さんで女の人が店員に頼んでいます。女の人はどの本が見たいですか？
doesn't really mean anything. It's just like, na, wie geht's? It's like, na, how are you? Hey, how are you? Alright? So, and now, how do you say goodbye in German? So, there are also a few options you have. First of all, you can say auf Wiedersehen. Auf Wiedersehen. This is for people who you don't know very well. It's a formal way of saying goodbye. And literally, it means auf. Really doesn't really mean anything. Maybe to in this case or something. And wieder is again. And sehen means to see. So, to see you again. Auf Wiedersehen. So, for friends and family, we usually say tschüss, tschüss, or tschüssi, tschüssi. Some Germans also like to say tschü, tschü. They all mean the same thing. Okay, let's do a quick summary. So, what would you say in the morning when you're seeing somebody for the first time? You'd say Guten Morgen. Then the sun is shining. Hopefully, wherever you are, the sun is going to start to shine. You would say Guten Tag. Then when it starts getting dark outside, you would say Guten Abend. Guten Abend. And then when it's very dark, it's already during the night and you're going to sleep, it's dark like this, you would say Gute Nacht. And you can also say Schlaf schön. This means sleep well, Schlaf schön. Gute Nacht, Schlaf schön. And back to the light. And to say hello to friends and family, you would say hello, or hi, or na. And to say goodbye, you would say tschüss, or tschüssi, or ciao. Or what we also like to say is, for example, bis später. This means see you later. Bis means until, and später is later. So, see you later, until later. Bis später. That's it for today. I hope you liked my video. And please, as a homework, write in the comments, depending on the time of the day, how you would greet me. So wherever you are and whenever you're watching this video, look outside. Is it dark, or is it maybe in the middle of the night, or is it in the morning? How would you greet me? Guten Morgen, guten Abend, guten Tag, or whatever. Yeah, just write it in the comments and tschüss.
Избираме само качествени картони и ги овкусяваме с грижа.
Between the crop circles and the videotape.
The answer is simple. You are the eventuality.
So I see. But what is the connection between the crop circles and the videotape?
The answer is simple. You are the eventuality of an anomaly. You are inexorably seeking a sedulant probability.
Sedulant.
Grotesquerie? No? What about contingent affirmation? That's gotta mean something.
Hey! Hey! You put cameras in my bathroom? What is this? Oh my God. Well, it was a long winter. This is an invasion of... Ow!
Oh, sorry. I can't help it. It's very lonely in here. Ergo, I haven't been with anyone in a very long time. Not counting myself. Or this chair. I call her... Linda.
Could you just cut to the chase? I'm kind of in a rush.
Why? You can always sleep over if you want. Linda's built for two, and she vibrates.
Stop it! Just tell me what I need to know. Who is that little girl?
Okay. My wife and I wanted a child, but she couldn't get pregnant. Neither could I.
So you adopted?
We loved our daughter, but she was evil. Made the horses crazy, killed our puppies, hid the remote. Really sick shit. My wife took her to the old family farm and drowned her in a well. I felt a simple timeout would have been sufficient. But Tabitha imprinted her evil on a videotape. I never meant for it to get out, but...
But what?
I put it in the wrong box and returned it to Blockbuster, instead of my copy of Pootie Tang.
And it's been circulating and killing ever since.
Just like Pootie Tang.
But what does this have to do with aliens?
I don't know. Perhaps Tabitha's summoning them to kill us all.
An alien invasion? I have to warn the world.
It's already begun. You're too late.
Oh my God.
But not too late to make an old man happy. What? What?
And now,
Sucede que Costa...
Con los terroristas. Con los terroristas.
And do the Harlem Shake.